I'm the forest man. Welcome to my forest. All right, so now I feel like I'm one with forestry. Are you recording, by the way? Because our entire property is completely hedged. We probably overspent on this, just like the rest of the house, but it looks amazing. Let me show you guys what we did back there. So I'm gonna put my native tree whispering wand. I use this to speak to my trees, let them know how I want them to grow, in which direction, and how full to get. We're just gonna leave this right here. You can see all the way down, the entire section is completely hedged. What we have installed is 25-gallon Ficus Nitida trees. I may be mispronouncing that, but that's what we installed all the way around. Anywhere in the house where you could look out, we wanted to create privacy so that you do feel like you're in your own home and you can feel open and free to do whatever you'd like in your own home. Before we get too deep into this video, I know you guys are all wondering, where is the big ogre? Eddy is unfortunately the Hunchback of Notre Dame this week. He hurt his back and he is in a lot of excruciating pain. So please give him your best wishes in the comments below. Tell him that I'm for calling him an ogre and all that fun stuff. But Eddy's just recovering, so he's trying to stay away from doing any physical activities, laying in bed, relaxing until he figures out exactly what's wrong with his back and make sure that he's back to 100%. That being said, let's jump into the trees. In the backyard, you guys can see we have this beautiful hedging wrapped all the way around, giving us instant privacy. The instant privacy is the reason that we decided to go with these larger plants. Now, we could have saved a lot of money by going with smaller plants, but then it would have taken the potential home buyers another year and a half before they fully grew in and gave them the privacy that they have today, the way things are planted. Now, these plants will still grow into each other. Give it like a month or two and you'll have no spaces in between the plants. And that's what we wanted to go for. We wanted instant gratification, and sometimes you gotta pay extra for instant gratification. The only areas back here that we didn't hedge is the barbecue area, because we're gonna have a nice roof there. Let's jump in with Warren from Bonilla Nurseries to talk more about their company, how they started, and all the trees and more information on that, because I don't really know much about trees other than my tree whispering wand. Let me start off by asking, why ficus trees? I've noticed that this has become a larger trend versus some of the other trees that people were using before. Why ficus?
They're probably one of the fastest growing hedges. If you want something like real estate, you want something quick to grow up fast, it's gonna be ficus.
Speaking of fast, these come in 3 sizes.
It goes 5, 15, 25, and it goes 24 box, 30-inch box.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's way too expensive. But starting at the 5-gallon, basically from like a sapling, which is I guess the 5-gallon, to getting to this point, which just for reference, guys, behind us we have the 25-gallon. What's the time frame that this takes to grow this big?
About a year and a half.
So this is about like 11 feet high, this tree. I mean, some of them grow differently. Some of them grow a little bit more full. Some of them go straight up. This one's a really full and tall one, and a lot of the trees that they planted here are like that. And that's something that we were very cautious about when we were picking out which nursery to use. Some of these guys have what I like to call simoleon pirates. So they're tall, but they're not full. We just wanted instant privacy, and honestly these ficus were at a solid price point, I want to say, where it made sense to us. What about the spacing? So I know most people end up doing the 15-gallon or the 25-gallon, right?
Yeah,
that's the common one.
Those are the most popular ones for sure.
What is the spacing on the 15-gallon to get something that looks full like this?
You don't really want to put it bucket to bucket, because when they get older, the chunks are going to be too thick. You want to put about 2 feet is kind of a sweet spot.
Okay, and then these we put, which are the 25 gallons, we put 2 feet apart as well.
Yeah.
And as you guys can see, we have like instant privacy here. There's
2 feet is private, leaf to leaf. You get that instant privacy. You don't have to wait for it to grow into each other.
Let's talk about Bonilla.
Bonilla Nurseries.
I keep saying Bonilla, and I won't. I've tried to correct myself, and I've been yelled at multiple times.
The 2 L's make a Y noise. So it's Bonilla Nurseries. We're kind of the growers, and we supply a lot of different people. We give pretty much really good wholesale prices to a lot of our clients.
A bunch of the places that I got quotes for when I went to go look at their trees to make sure that they were delivering you know, the right type of trees that I wanted. I saw trucks from some of the other nurseries picking up trees from them. So one of the main things that I always talk about on the channel is trying to go straight to the source to get better pricing, to beat out the middleman and get everything done for a good price. We'll go into the price of everything towards the end of this video, but it ended up working out for us. So you were talking about Bonilla. So you and your brother, right? Your older brother, you guys are kind of running the show there.
Yeah, we're pretty much running kind of anything that's like outside of the nursery.
Yeah.
Kind of doing the operation, getting everybody together, making sure everything's organized. And with Sam, we brought him to the lot and made sure that he was happy with all the trees before we brought them
By the
over
way,
and things like that.
when you call them, they go like, our plants are all planted in Malibu, and all I heard was like dollar signs. I'm like, oh, now I gotta pay Malibu prices and stuff. But it's not the case. They're actually pretty competitive, and they're great quality, which is one of the main things that we look for is quality, because I could have got trees for maybe half the price of this, but Somalian pirates. And we don't want those. Tell me how Bonilla started and how you and your brother got involved.
We've been around for about like 8 years.
Okay.
My dad's been, you know, going over there doing this, whatever he has to do. And we both went to college and we came back. We decided to help him out. Brother is really good at the marketing aspect, getting everything organized, business, anything that has to do with, you know, throwing things on the internet, things like that. And I'm more better at doing like operations. So together we just kind of like put it together. And we just kind of get everything done in a good like time span. We kind of started off planting these trees. You know, we were just at the yard, putting the smaller trees into these bigger buckets, waiting for them to grow. And as they got taped up, and then little by little, people started to, you know, get our like reference from us. First we were just delivering, and then we got a crew together to do installation. And that's when we started kind of changing, and almost kind of started becoming more of a bigger business.
No, honestly, having it all in one shop is easier, to be honest, to call you and be like, you guys can get it installed and out. And they do everything from selling the trees to installing them, to the irrigation, roof barriers, to basically, they can come in and out and be done, and you have to call nobody else to do anything else on your job site in terms of the hedging. You guys have these big stakes. I think they're like, what, 2-inch stakes?
Yeah.
What's the reason behind these stakes?
So those stakes are what pretty much turn it into a column. So this is Ficus Indian Laurel column is the name of this. As they grow, we tape them, so it forces it to go up and spread out. So this stick is very important to making it a column. They're really strong sticks too. I mean, they're not cheap. I always like to say whenever this trunk gets just as thick as this stick is when you could remove it.
But in all honesty, at that point, the stick's gonna be so hidden and gone, you could just leave it back there, because this is gonna end up being like a full bush, essentially, all the way down the property line for us. We saw you guys bring them on the trucks. You guys bought them in batches of about 25. You guys offloaded them. You guys had already trenched out everything here. Yeah. What's the process from like offloading to actually dropping them into the holes, like planting them?
It always depends on the terrain. So you got everything nice and flat here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do the trench first. And with the trench is always best because you can adjust. If you wanted them very distant, we would just make holes.
Gotcha.
There would be no reason to do a trench. But so we did the whole trench, made sure everything was ready for the trees before we brought them, because we don't want to be overcrowded with just things going on, too many things going on. The trench is perfect. Fill it up with dirt, put some topsoil and a little, like a handful of, it's called 15-all fertilizer across all of them.
After these are all planted, you guys go around and you guys trim them up, right?
You want to make sure you trim them. That way they get the right shape.
Yeah.
Nothing is dangling too much. Like nothing is, you know, going out way too far, especially for your house specifically. You want to keep as much space as you want.
Warren was telling me that if you guys pay attention, you'll notice this kind of grows up the shape of the bucket. That's by design. Yeah. It's not like that's how the plant grows, because they try to go all ways. Yeah. They trim these out all around as they're growing. That's how you keep the shape of the hedge that you want. You don't want to cut back too much at once, but you could slowly cut it back and bring it to the level that you want. You're showing me you could be up to like 4 inches from the trunk. It's a great way to create a hedge. And these size trees, you can be, from what I'm looking at, about a foot, maybe 16, 18 inches from the wall, and have a straight like line of privacy. Yeah, you can see on that one that's behind you that it's coming out is exactly what we would be trimming. So this would be cut off to give it that shape. Cool. Enough talking, guys. Let's finish up planting these, and then we'll do a full synopsis of everything that went on here. Really, the only area where we wanted privacy that we couldn't do it with hedging was right here in the barbecue area. As you guys can see, where there's a barbecue, you cannot put trees for obvious reasons. But what we decided to do here was to do a little metal roof over the existing cover over here. And that way we can create the same level of privacy with a much more modern design and maybe not as much greenery, but I think if we put some string lights here, it'll look amazing. You guys can also see in the back, we did planters. Now these planters were not here. They're about 30 inches high, and the reason we did that was basically money saving. What we realized is we wanted 15-foot trees back here. In order to get 15-foot 16-foot trees back here, it was gonna be very, very expensive. The price per tree almost tripled. At that point, we decided, hey, you know what's a smart idea? What if we make a planter? It looks nicer, it separates the space, and it raises the trees up. This is honestly a smart tip, and we will be definitely using this on our future projects when we do hedging in order to save a lot of money and not spend the amount that we did on these trees. Other ways you could save money is by not hedging areas that are not required. Now over here, I'm standing outside behind the fireplace. As you guys can see, it's kicked out about 2 feet, which kind of hinders you from putting any hedging here. But also in reality, this is a wall. You can't see through here. There's no reason to create privacy here. There's no windows that look through here. This is about 8 feet, which would have been 4 plants. You guys can see how much money that'll save towards the end of the video when we go over the pricing. I'm back in the forest with my tree whispering wand. Tree whispering wand, how much were these trees? They were expensive. So let's go over the pricing. Let me give you guys some tips and tricks on how you guys can save some money on the trees. But before we do that, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. If you guys have any questions about anything, leave them in the comments down below. We want to thank Bonilla Nurseries. They did a great job. We're really, really happy with everything. They're paying attention to all the details. So let's jump straight into the cost. The cost of these trees right now, and like I said, you guys, everything is always fluctuating, so don't quote me on this. Don't call them and ask for the same pricing. Get a quote. Everything is different terrains. We had really soft dirt here. It was really easy to trench out, and we also bought a very large quantity. Now we bought 101 trees. These 25-gallon trees that run about 9 feet high cost us $155 each planted, plus tax, delivery, fertilizer, blah, 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 blah. 101 trees ended up costing us $17,402.45. I know that's a crazy number, and if you follow us on Instagram, I know that wasn't one of the options. It was between $15,000 and $20,000, and a lot of you said 15, but very few said 20. It kind of increased in cost as we went along. And also, I was referring to the trees, and 101 trees is about $15,000. Now, how could we have saved money? Just like I showed you guys the planters in the back, if we did that all the way around the entire house, we could drop these from the 25 gallons to the 15-gallon trees and get the same level of coverage. The 15-gallon trees at this point in time are going for $58 planted. That's almost $100 savings per tree. If you take into account 100 trees, that's about $10,000 in savings. I think that you could get this retaining wall planter built for about $2,000 to $3,000, so you could save yourself $7,000 to $8,000 on a job like this. So keep that in mind. It's an easy lesson learned for you guys, and it's an expensive lesson learned by us. Thank you guys again for all your support. We really appreciate you. Let's add that total to the total number over here and see where we're at. I have no intentions of knowing what this is until I watch the video, and I have no intentions of following this number and justifying it until the project's done. You guys leave some support for Eddy down in the comments. He really needs your prayers and wishes. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.